If you're over 60 and your doctor has mentioned concerns about your cholesterol, blood pressure, or heart health, what you ate for lunch yesterday might be slowly building deadly blockages in your arteries right now. I'm not talking about obvious junk food or fast food burgers. I'm talking about seemingly innocent, even heart-healthy foods that millions of seniors eat every single day, believing they're making good choices for their cardiovascular system. What if I told you that certain foods sitting in your kitchen right now, foods that might even be labeled as low-fat, natural, or doctor recommended, are actually creating the perfect storm for arterial plaque buildup, inflammation, and the kind of silent blockages that lead to heart attacks and strokes without warning? I'm not here to scare you into never eating again. I'm here to protect your heart, your independence, and your future. As a cardiologist who has performed thousands of procedures to clear blocked arteries over the past 30 years, I've seen the devastating effects of these dietary mistakes repeated in operating rooms and emergency departments every single day. Most seniors have no idea they're consuming arterial poison. These foods have been marketed to older adults as safe, healthy, even beneficial for heart health. They're recommended by well-meaning family members, included in senior meal programs, and often prescribed by healthcare providers who don't understand the latest research on inflammation and arterial damage. But your cardiovascular system after 60 is different from what it was in your younger years. Your arteries are less flexible. Your inflammation response is more sensitive, and your body's ability to clear harmful substances from your bloodstream has slowed dramatically. Foods that might have been neutral or even beneficial when you were 40 can become arterial saboteurs when you're 70. In this video, I'm going to reveal 5 specific foods that are quietly building blockages in seniors' arteries, explain exactly why they're so dangerous for aging cardiovascular systems, and show you what to eat instead to keep your arteries clear and your heart strong. Keep watching, because food number 3 might be something your own doctor recommended. Before we dive in, if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you hit that button and turn on the bell so you never miss another heart health tip made specifically for seniors. If you find this video helpful, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 to let me know how I can make better content for you. 1. Margarine and heart-healthy vegetable oil spreads. The trans fat Trojan horse. When better than butter becomes worse than poison. Let me tell you about Eleanor, a 72-year-old retired nurse who came to my office after her routine cardiac screening revealed significant arterial blockages. She was proud of her heart-healthy diet. She'd switched from butter to margarine decades ago, used vegetable oil spreads on her toast, and cooked with what she thought were the healthiest fats available. Eleanor was doing everything her previous doctor had recommended, yet her arteries were 70% blocked in multiple locations. What Eleanor didn't know, and what most seniors don't realize, is that many margarines and vegetable oil spreads, even those labeled as trans fat free, contain partially hydrogenated oils and inflammatory compounds that are far more dangerous to aging arteries than the saturated fats they were designed to replace. When you consume these processed fats, particularly after age 60, your body struggles to metabolize them properly. They create oxidative stress in your arterial walls, trigger chronic inflammation, and literally stick to the inside of your blood vessels like glue. I've performed angioplasties on patients whose arterial blockages were primarily composed of these industrial fats that had accumulated over years of heart-healthy eating. The most heartbreaking part is that many seniors switched to these products because they wanted to protect their hearts. Food companies marketed margarine as a healthy alternative to butter, and for decades, medical professionals recommended these products without understanding their long-term consequences. But recent research has shown that these processed fats are among the most dangerous substances you can consume for arterial health. What's even worse is that these products often contain hidden trans fats. Even if the label says 0 grams trans fat, manufacturers can legally make this claim if each serving contains less than 0.5 grams. But seniors often consume multiple servings throughout the day, and these small amounts add up to significant arterial damage over time. Your aging cardiovascular system simply can't handle the inflammatory load of these processed fats. Every time you spread margarine on your toast or cook with vegetable oil spreads, you're essentially painting your arterial walls with substances that promote plaque formation, increase inflammation, and accelerate the aging of your cardiovascular system. The solution isn't to avoid all fats, it's to choose fats that actually support arterial health. Small amounts of real butter, olive oil, or avocado provide the healthy fats your body needs without the inflammatory burden of processed alternatives. But while processed spreads are dangerous, there's another food that's even more insidious, because it's often recommended specifically for seniors' heart health, and it might be hiding in your refrigerator right now. 2. Low-fat and fat-free dairy products, the sugar-loaded deception. When removing fat creates a cardiovascular catastrophe. There's something almost virtuous about reaching for fat-free yogurt or skim milk. It feels like you're making a responsible choice for your heart health. Many seniors have been told for decades that dietary fat clogs arteries, so removing fat from dairy products seems like obvious common sense. But what I've discovered in my years of treating cardiovascular disease is that these heart-healthy dairy alternatives are actually creating more arterial damage than their full-fat counterparts. I'll never forget Arthur, a 68-year-old retired teacher who religiously ate fat-free yogurt and drank skim milk as part of his heart-healthy diet. His cholesterol numbers looked good on paper, but his cardiac calcium score, a measure of arterial plaque, was through the roof. When we analyzed his diet, we discovered that his healthy dairy products were loaded with added sugars, artificial sweeteners, and inflammatory additives that were wreaking havoc on his arterial walls. Here's what happens when manufacturers remove fat from dairy products. They have to replace it with something to maintain taste and texture. That something is usually sugar, high fructose corn syrup, artificial sweeteners, or inflammatory stabilizers. Your aging body processes these additives very differently than it did when you were younger, and the result is a cascade of inflammation that directly damages your arterial lining. When you consume low-fat dairy products, your blood sugar spikes rapidly due to the added sugars and the lack of fat to slow absorption. This sugar spike triggers an inflammatory response that makes your arterial walls more susceptible to plaque formation. The artificial sweeteners often used in these products have been linked to increased cardiovascular events in seniors, and the industrial processing creates compounds that your body doesn't recognize as food. What's particularly dangerous for seniors is that these products often contain more sodium than their full-fat versions. The combination of added sugars, artificial ingredients, and excess sodium creates the perfect storm for arterial inflammation, especially in aging cardiovascular systems that are already more vulnerable to inflammatory damage. I've treated countless patients who developed significant arterial blockages while faithfully consuming what they thought were heart-healthy dairy products. Their triglycerides were elevated, their inflammatory markers were high, and their arteries showed signs of accelerated plaque formation, all from foods they believed were protecting their hearts. The irony is that full-fat dairy products, when consumed in reasonable portions, actually support cardiovascular health in seniors. The natural fats help stabilize blood sugar, reduce inflammation, and provide nutrients that support arterial integrity. Your body knows how to process natural dairy fat. It doesn't know what to do with the industrial additives in fat-free alternatives. The research is now clear. Seniors who consume moderate amounts of full-fat dairy have better cardiovascular outcomes than those who consume processed, low-fat alternatives. Your arteries need healthy fats to maintain their structure and function. Depriving them of natural fats while flooding them with artificial additives is a recipe for cardiovascular disaster. But while processed dairy is problematic, there's another category of foods that's even more dangerous because it's often prescribed by healthcare providers as essential for senior nutrition, yet it's quietly destroying arterial health in ways that most people never suspect. 3. Whole grain breads and heart-healthy cereals, the glycemic time bomb. When fiber and whole grains become arterial assassins. Walk into any doctor's office, senior center, or assisted living facility, and you'll hear the same nutritional advice repeated like gospel. Eat more whole grains, choose whole grain breads, and start your day with heart-healthy cereals high in fiber. It sounds so reasonable, so scientifically sound, that millions of seniors have built their diets around these recommendations. But what I've discovered in my cardiovascular practice is that these heart-healthy grain products are often the primary drivers of the arterial inflammation and plaque formation I see in my senior patients. Let me tell you about Margaret, a 74-year-old grandmother who came to me after her cardiac stress test revealed multiple areas of concern. Margaret was the picture of compliance. She ate whole grain toast for breakfast, whole grain cereal with skim milk, and whole grain pasta for dinner. She avoided white bread religiously and felt proud of her dedication to heart-healthy eating. Yet her arteries were showing significant signs of inflammation and early blockage formation. What Margaret didn't understand, and what most healthcare providers don't fully grasp, is that whole grain products, especially when consumed frequently by seniors, create dramatic spikes in blood glucose that trigger inflammatory cascades directly damaging to arterial walls. Even though these products contain fiber, they're still primarily composed of carbohydrates that break down into sugar in your bloodstream. After age 60, your body's ability to process these glucose spikes becomes significantly impaired. Your insulin response is slower and less efficient, meaning that the blood sugar elevation from whole grain products persists longer and reaches higher levels than it would in younger people. This prolonged glucose elevation is like sandpaper on your arterial lining, creating microscopic damage that becomes the foundation for plaque formation. But the problem goes deeper than just blood sugar. Many commercial whole grain products contain inflammatory oils, preservatives, and additives that compound the arterial damage. The processing required to create shelf-stable whole grain breads and cereals often involves high heat treatment that creates advanced glycation end products, AGEs, compounds that accelerate arterial aging and increase cardiovascular risk. I've performed countless cardiac catheterizations on seniors who followed whole grain diets religiously, only to find their arteries filled with soft, unstable plaque that's particularly dangerous because it's prone to rupture and cause heart attacks. The irony is that these patients were trying so hard to protect their hearts by following conventional dietary wisdom that they were actually accelerating their cardiovascular decline. What's particularly insidious about whole grain products is that they're often fortified with synthetic vitamins and minerals that can accumulate in arterial walls. Iron fortification, common in whole grain cereals, can contribute to oxidative stress in arteries. Folic acid fortification, while beneficial for some populations, can mask vitamin B12 deficiency in seniors, leading to elevated homocysteine levels that directly damage arterial walls. The fiber in whole grain products, while beneficial for digestive health, doesn't offset the inflammatory burden of the glucose spikes these foods create in seniors. Your cardiovascular system after 60 needs stable blood sugar more than it needs dietary fiber, and the trade-off simply isn't worth the arterial damage. I've seen remarkable improvements in arterial health when seniors reduce their whole grain consumption and focus on vegetables, healthy proteins, and natural fats instead. Their inflammatory markers drop, their blood sugar stabilizes, and follow-up imaging often shows reduced arterial inflammation and even some regression of early plaque formation. Your heart doesn't need whole grains to stay healthy. It needs stable blood sugar, reduced inflammation, and nutrients that support arterial integrity. The whole grain myth has been one of the most damaging pieces of nutritional advice given to seniors, and it's time to recognize the truth about these seemingly healthy foods. 4. Fruit juices and smoothies, the liquid artery blockers. When vitamins and antioxidants become cardiovascular poison, there's something so appealing about starting your day with a glass of fresh orange juice or a colorful smoothie packed with fruits and vegetables. These beverages seem like liquid health, concentrated vitamins, natural antioxidants, and wholesome nutrition in convenient, delicious form. Many seniors choose these drinks because they want to boost their immune system, get their daily fruits and vegetables, or because chewing has become more difficult. But what I've discovered in my cardiovascular practice is that these liquid meals are creating some of the most dangerous arterial damage I see in older adults. I remember treating Robert, a 71-year-old retired engineer who prided himself on his healthy morning routine. Every day, he drank a large glass of fresh squeezed orange juice and a green smoothie made with fruits, spinach, and protein powder. He felt virtuous about his liquid nutrition and couldn't understand why his coronary calcium score was climbing despite his healthy diet. When we analyzed the sugar content of his morning beverages, we discovered he was consuming over 60 grams of fructose before 9 a.m., more than most people should have in an entire day. Here's what happens when seniors consume fruit juices and smoothies. You're essentially drinking concentrated sugar that hits your bloodstream like a tsunami. Even natural fruit sugars, when consumed in liquid form, without the fiber that would normally slow their absorption, create massive spikes in blood glucose and insulin. But what's even more dangerous for arterial health is the fructose component, which your liver processes very differently from other sugars. When you consume large amounts of fructose, which is exactly what happens when you drink fruit juice or fruit-heavy smoothies, your liver converts much of it directly into triglycerides and VLDL cholesterol, the small dense particles that are most likely to penetrate arterial walls and form dangerous plaques. This process also generates uric acid, which directly damages arterial lining and promotes inflammation. For seniors, this metabolic burden is particularly devastating because your liver's ability to process fructose efficiently has declined with age. The result is not just elevated triglycerides and inflammatory markers, but actual structural changes in your arterial walls that make them more susceptible to plaque formation and rupture. What makes this even more insidious is that fruit juices and smoothies are often consumed by seniors who are trying to be healthy. They've been told that fruits and vegetables are good for heart health, so concentrated forms must be even better. But the concentration process removes the fiber that would normally slow sugar absorption and often adds extra sugars or sweeteners that compound the arterial damage. I've performed cardiac catheterizations on patients whose primary source of dietary sugar was healthy fruit juices and smoothies, only to find their arteries lined with soft, lipid-rich plaques that are particularly prone to causing heart attacks. Their triglyceride levels were often over 300, their inflammatory markers were elevated, and their arterial walls showed signs of accelerated aging. The antioxidants in fruits, while beneficial, simply cannot offset the massive inflammatory burden created by consuming concentrated fruit sugars in liquid form. Your cardiovascular system after 60 needs gentle, sustained nutrition, not the metabolic shock of liquid sugar bombs disguised as health food. Even green smoothies, which seem particularly virtuous, often contain multiple servings of fruit to mask the taste of vegetables. A typical green smoothie can contain the sugar equivalent of 4 to 6 pieces of fruit, creating the same arterial damage as drinking soda, but with the added deception of seeming healthy. The solution isn't to avoid fruits entirely, it's to eat whole fruits in reasonable portions and get your vegetables from actual vegetables, not liquid concentrates. Your arteries will thank you for the steady, sustained nutrition instead of the roller coaster of liquid sugar that's currently damaging them every single day. 5. Processed heart-healthy foods and meal replacements. The marketing deception. When food labels lie and arteries pay the price. If you walk down the grocery aisles today, you'll see an entire industry built around heart-healthy processed foods, specifically marketed to seniors. Heart-healthy frozen dinners, cholesterol-lowering snack bars, omega-3 fortified crackers, and meal replacement shakes designed for seniors fill the shelves of every grocery store. These products seem like godsends for older adults who want convenient nutrition without the complexity of cooking from scratch. But as a cardiologist who has seen the devastating effects of these processed foods on arterial health, I need to tell you the truth about what these products are really doing to your cardiovascular system. Let me tell you about Dorothy, a 76-year-old widow who came to me after her daughter noticed she was having trouble with stairs and seemed short of breath. Dorothy had been living on what she thought was the perfect heart-healthy diet. Frozen meals labeled as low sodium and heart smart, protein bars fortified with omega-3s, and meal replacement shakes designed specifically for seniors. She felt like she was taking excellent care of her heart, but her echocardiogram revealed significant arterial stiffening and early signs of heart failure. What Dorothy didn't realize, and what the marketing doesn't tell you, is that these processed foods, regardless of their health claims, contain a cocktail of inflammatory ingredients that are particularly damaging to aging arterial walls. Preservatives, artificial flavors, emulsifiers, and stabilizers may extend shelf life and improve taste, but they create chronic inflammation in your cardiovascular system that accelerates arterial aging and plaque formation. The heart-healthy claims on these products are often based on single nutrient studies that ignore the inflammatory burden of the overall food matrix. Yes, a product might contain omega-3 fatty acids, but if those beneficial fats are surrounded by high fructose corn syrup, sodium phosphates, and artificial preservatives, the net effect on your arteries is still inflammatory and damaging. What's particularly dangerous for seniors is that many of these products are designed to be convenient meal replacements, meaning they often make up a significant portion of daily nutrition. When processed foods become your primary nutrition source, your body is constantly dealing with inflammatory compounds that it doesn't recognize as real food. Your immune system treats these artificial ingredients as foreign invaders, creating chronic inflammation that directly damages arterial walls. I've treated countless seniors whose diets consisted primarily of these healthy processed foods, only to find their arterial systems showing signs of accelerated aging and inflammation. Their C-reactive protein levels were elevated, their arterial compliance was reduced, and their risk of cardiovascular events was significantly higher than patients eating real whole foods. The irony is that many of these patients chose processed foods because cooking had become difficult, or because they believed the marketing claims about heart health. But the convenience came at a tremendous cost to their cardiovascular health that they never saw coming until it was too late. Even products specifically formulated for seniors often contain ingredients that are particularly problematic for aging cardiovascular systems. High levels of synthetic vitamins can accumulate in arterial walls, artificial sweeteners have been linked to increased cardiovascular events in older adults, and the high sodium content, despite low sodium claims, can accelerate arterial stiffening. The solution isn't to become a gourmet cook overnight, it's to focus on simple, real foods that don't need health claims because they're inherently healthy. A piece of wild-caught fish, some vegetables sautéed in olive oil, or a simple salad provides more heart-protective nutrition than any processed food product, regardless of what the label claims. Your arteries evolved to process real food, not laboratory creations designed for shelf stability and profit margins. Every time you choose a processed food over a real food, you're choosing convenience over cardiovascular health, and after 60, that trade-off simply isn't worth the risk. A message from my heart to yours, the truth about arterial health. If you've stayed with me through this entire video, it tells me you're serious about protecting your heart and your future. That commitment to your health is exactly what will help you make the changes necessary to keep your arteries clear and your cardiovascular system strong for years to come. I've spent 3 decades in operating rooms and cardiac catheterization labs, looking directly at the arterial damage caused by dietary choices that seemed harmless or even beneficial. I've held hearts in my hands that were starved of blood flow because their owners unknowingly consumed foods that slowly, silently built blockages in their coronary arteries. And far too often, those patients were people who thought they were eating heart-healthy diets. The foods I've asked you to reconsider aren't inherently evil. They're products of a food industry that prioritizes shelf life, convenience, and profit over your arterial health. The marketing claims, the health halos, and the medical recommendations that support these foods are often based on outdated science that doesn't account for how aging changes your body's response to different nutrients. Your cardiovascular system after 60 is more vulnerable to inflammation, less efficient at processing certain compounds, and more susceptible to damage from foods that might have been neutral when you were younger. The arterial flexibility you had at 40 is gone. The inflammatory resilience you had at 50 has diminished. Your body needs different nutrition now, and it's time your diet reflected that reality. The beautiful truth is that your arteries have a remarkable ability to heal when you stop damaging them. I've seen patients reverse years of arterial inflammation simply by eliminating the foods that were creating chronic damage. Their arterial compliance improves, their inflammatory markers normalize, and their risk of cardiovascular events drops dramatically. This isn't about perfection, it's about protection. It's about making choices that honor your body's current needs, rather than following outdated advice that may be harming you. Your arteries deserve better than processed foods disguised as health food. Your heart deserves better than inflammatory ingredients hidden behind marketing claims. The path forward, nourishing your arteries, protecting your future. The solution to arterial health isn't complicated, expensive, or restrictive. It's about returning to real foods that your body recognizes and can process efficiently. Simple proteins like wild-caught fish and pastured eggs, healthy fats like olive oil, avocados, and nuts, vegetables that provide antioxidants without the inflammatory burden of processing. These foods don't need health claims because they're inherently healing. Your arteries need steady anti-inflammatory nutrition, not the roller coaster of processed foods that spike blood sugar, trigger inflammation, and deposit harmful compounds in your arterial walls. When you feed your body real food, you give your cardiovascular system the tools it needs to repair damage, maintain flexibility, and resist the formation of dangerous plaques. I've seen remarkable transformations in patients who made these dietary changes. Their energy improves, their blood pressure stabilizes, their cholesterol profiles become more favorable, and most importantly, their arterial health begins to restore itself. The human body's capacity for healing is extraordinary when you stop interfering with its natural processes. Remember, every meal is an opportunity to either damage your arteries or heal them. Every food choice is a vote for inflammation or anti-inflammation. After 60, these choices matter more than ever because your body's ability to compensate for poor nutrition has diminished significantly. Start with small changes. Replace one processed food with a real food alternative. Choose olive oil instead of margarine. Eat whole fruits instead of drinking fruit juice. Cook simple meals instead of relying on processed convenience foods. Your arteries will begin to respond immediately, and the benefits will compound over time. Your next steps, beginning today. I want you to walk to your kitchen after watching this video and look at your food with new eyes. Read labels not for health claims, but for ingredients you recognize. Ask yourself, would my great-grandmother have recognized this as food? If the answer is no, it's probably not serving your arterial health. This isn't about throwing away your entire pantry or never eating convenient foods again. It's about gradually shifting toward foods that support rather than damage your cardiovascular system. Your arteries have been forgiving for decades, but they need your help now to stay clear and functional for the years ahead. Your heart health is too important to leave to marketing claims and processed food companies. Take control of what goes into your body, and your arteries will reward you with better function, less inflammation, and reduced risk of the cardiovascular events that steal independence and quality of life from too many seniors. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Which of these foods surprised you the most? What changes are you most motivated to make? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's support each other in making choices that truly protect our hearts. If you found this video helpful, please comment 1 below. If you think I missed something important, comment 0, and let me know what would make this more valuable for you. Your feedback helps me create better content for seniors who want to protect their cardiovascular health. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more evidence-based information about protecting your heart and arteries naturally. Your cardiovascular health is worth protecting, your future is worth investing in, and your arteries deserve the truth about what's really helping or harming them. Thank you for watching, and here's to clear arteries and a strong heart, exactly what you deserve at every stage of life.